Now this is probably a hybrid, so I'm not actually going to save these seeds. This comes from an organic farm, but probably a very industrial-sized organic farm that uses hybrid seeds. Okay, so you have this muck now, and you can put maybe like however many tomatoes you want in that. You know, you're going to squeeze, remember, all the same variety, right? Because we're going to keep our seeds. Thank you. I think it's like jack-o'-lantern time. So you have your pulp in there, and you're going to squeeze your tomatoes in, and you're going to add a little bit of water. You shouldn't add a lot of water because that's going to dilute the fermentation process, which is what this is all about. So have you noticed when you've held a little tomato seed, it kind of has this jelly sac around it?
Kinda.
Yeah, it definitely has a jelly sac around it. So what you're going to do is you've put your pulp, you've added a little water, you've mixed it up really good, and then you're going to let it sit on your counter for like 4 or 5 days until you see a little mold. It'll fizz, it'll bubble, you'll get a little mold on the top. And you're using fermentation to break down that jelly sac. And not only to break down that jelly sac, but to destroy lingering diseases. Those bacteria in the fermentation process, they're going to eat up any diseases that are trying to live on your seed and trying to get to the next generation of your tomatoes. So this fermentation process for plants like tomatoes is absolutely crucial. So then you have this bowl of like kind of rotting tomato mush, and you're like, okay, it looks fairly rotten. It's been several days in my fairly warm house. What do I do now? So then you add more water. And you stir and you stir and you stir. And you'll see when you add more water, I'll add a little bit of water right now. When you add water, the seed that is viable and is good is going to sink to the bottom. It's going to be heavier. So what you're going to do is you're going to add water and you're going to pour off some of the top. And you're going to add more water and pour. And more water and pour. And you're going to do that until everything else, nothing is left except for some seeds at the bottom. Okay, and then you're going to get a colander. Make sure teeny little holes. We don't want to, like, after all that work and living with rotting tomato guts, that we put them down the sink. So teeny little holes, colander. You pour it into your colander. You rinse it good. Make sure that those seed gel sacs have been fermented away. And really, all you're doing in this process is mimicking nature. When a tomato falls to the ground in nature, what does it do? It rots. It ferments. This is something a tomato has developed over millions of years as its own way of reproducing itself. So we're just mimicking what nature already does perfectly. So we have now our colander of little seeds. We're going to put them really carefully onto a ceramic or metal plate or surface. Do we want to use paper? No way, because they will stick to the paper and it'll be a pain in the butt. So ceramic or metal surface, and you want to dry them. Now, you don't ever want your seeds that you're drying, and this goes for any wet processing, which, you know, is cucumbers, squash seeds. You never want to get them over 95 degrees. So that means keeping them somewhere warm, but not really warm, and never in direct sunlight, because you can't ever be in control. And the air temperature isn't necessarily the seed temperature, especially if they're dark seeds. They could be 10 degrees hotter than what the air temperature is saying. So you want to keep them in a warm place, but not too warm. And they'll be dry in a couple days. And you want to make sure that they're really nice and dry before you place them in a clean, airtight glass jar. And then you want to store them somewhere cool and dark, but not somewhere where there's going to be a lot of temperature fluctuation. Somewhere constantly semi-cool and dark. Any questions about the tomato, the dry